YouTube, how we doing? Pass the prop back here again. NFL edition, ready to roll. Week 13. A little weird week, obviously, with holidays. 3 games yesterday, and obviously 1 today. So we're going to try our best to get through. I think it's 12 games here to talk about. But always joined as always by my guy, Stu. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I mean, I love this holiday season. It was obviously just Thanksgiving. Like you said, we were not able to do our Wednesday show with, family obligations, all that stuff. So sorry about that, but I think most people were pretty understanding. A lot of people obviously have their own stuff going on. So hopefully everyone was able to have a great holiday. Definitely one of my favorites, get to spend time with family and, be thankful for all the good stuff you got going on in your life. And this is one of the things I'm thankful for. So obviously, I have a lot of fun doing the show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I think we got some good picks today. So we came a little bit early. We had to shuffle it around a little bit, but I think it'll be worth it. I appreciate you guys tuning in with us. And yeah, let's get some winners today.
Yeah, I got 15 of you guys here in the first couple of minutes. We obviously appreciate you joining us on your Black Friday. Maybe you guys already got your shopping in. Maybe you guys are already back home before you take a nap, just getting some bets in here. Either way, we appreciate you guys popping in. And let's recap here a little bit.
Sounds good. Got the win right here. J.K. Dobbins over 2.5 receptions. Was a little bit, I guess it wasn't sweaty. It was more just annoying that he got injured. And we couldn't get our ladder here because we both talked about the ladder on the show. Obviously had 3 in the first half, but still got the job done. Shout out to J.K. Dobbins. Cashing this one pretty easy for us.
Yeah, mine was a little bit controversial because he did have 22 completions at the post game, and then it switched to a rush. The one that they threw, I don't know if it was to Dobbins or who it was. Somebody might have to just post it on there who the guy was. I forgot because I ended up seeing that it was behind the line of scrimmage and they called it a rush. So instead of getting the 22 we needed, it moved down to 21, and you get hooked on a stat correction like that. It stings a little bit. So that one was kind of annoying, but I guess it happens.
This was the worst play of the year. This isn't even my play. Sorry, the most annoying play of the year. I had money on this, real money on this, tailing you. Quentin Johnson dropped 4 fucking passes on that.
At least 3 that were in the teeth.
I mean, it wouldn't be so annoying if we didn't talk about it so much on the show. I thought every time I should talk a guy, they go out there and put up 100 yards. If you've watched the show for 3 years, every time I go unnecessarily hard on a guy, they have a 100-yard performance. You know what I mean? It always happens. Of course, Johnson does exactly what the fuck we said he would. That was ungodly tilting because he was at 18 completions in the third quarter. They had the whole fourth quarter to get 3 catches, multiple drives, and these guys could not hang on to the ball. I'm clearly more mad about this than you are. Maybe you've had a more chill Thanksgiving, but just seeing this gave me some PTSD because this was atrocious. And I already hated Quinn Johnston, but man, it's increased somehow since then.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm just not mad about it. I just think I don't even know what you could say. And the thing was I was less mad about, and this is the worst part, I was less mad about losing money on this bet than I was about my fantasy matchup because I told you I was up 4 points. I had Ladd McConkey and he had Cameron Dicker. And all I needed was them not, Ladd McConkey caught that last ball on that drive. I'm either throw a ball to McConkey, give me over a 1-point lead, or just don't score a touchdown. It's 4th and 10, and they call a fucking phantom bullshit pass interference. They kick the extra point, and I lose by 0.04. Closest loss ever in our 10-year history of that fantasy league. So I was I don't even remember my bet, bro. I was so mad about that. And mind you, I lost another fantasy league last week because McCaffrey fumbled. That ended the week. So I lost by 0.6. So I lost a combined by less than 0.7 points, 2 fantasy leagues. So Herbert, I was feeling good, and it just was just icing on top of just feeling like shit. I was already feeling like crap because of that. Cameron Dicker gets a free. I'm go for 2, right? Every analytics tells you to go for 2. You're down 14, you get the touchdown. Go for 2, so you go. Harbaugh doesn't do analytics. He's a dumb fuck. He's old. He doesn't know what he's doing, so can't really put much past him. Just an old fuck.
Yeah, honestly, I completely forgot about this game, but just seeing that Herbert thing pop back up made me instantly mad again. And I do remember seeing in your VIP group that you did post about your fantasy thing, and I knew that that's probably what got you because bets you bet so much during a given year, but these like 10-year long fantasy leagues with your
It
friends.
hurt way fucking more, dude.
Yep, that's because you're going to be hearing about that for a while. Like the whole thing is just brutal. So enough recap. We got through it. Obviously, still 1-1 on the show, but obviously should have been 2-0 here with Herbert getting pretty fucked.
Yeah, and I just don't understand how Johnson is just continually being able to play as much as he plays and can't catch. So, yeah, not much else to say on that. Let's get into today's stuff or Sunday stuff. Let's kind of talk about these games. Is there any game specifically you want to talk about at all here, Stu, a little bit more in depth before we go into dogs?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the main one would probably be one I'll be talking about for one of my bets a little bit later. But I was kind of surprised how good this slate is. Normally, when you get front loaded with a couple Thanksgiving games, you're not expecting much. I think an underrated game, probably Chargers Falcons. That's one I've been monitoring since last week. Someone in my Discord mentioned it, and I did bet a little bit of Chargers money line on the look ahead. It's still only -1. I don't understand this line. I feel like the Chargers are a significantly better team. I've already obviously talked about the Chargers kind of being a dog team for me mostly, but when you're paying -110 on the money line, I'm cool with that as long as we're not laying -3 or anything like that. I don't see it at all. Even with the Falcons some bye weeks, some time to cook up a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. I just think the Chargers are a much better team. I think they're better in the trenches, even with the J.K. Dobbins injury stuff and the running game being a little bit hurt. Herbert's playing fantastic. Like he's been playing ever since their bye week. They literally went from, funnily enough, like the most run-heavy team in football to just letting Herbert cook. And it's been fantastic since they made that decision. So for me, against the Falcons defense, they have Bates. That's it. That's their guy. That's their one guy. They have a safety that's a playmaker. But when you don't have a pass rush, right, when you don't have dependable linebackers, like teams can just kind of do whatever they want against you. They can avoid the safety. They can play it a little bit safer. And Herbert's just been great. So for me, obviously the drops and stuff were pretty brutal, but that also showed that they were able to hang in there with one of the best teams in the league, right? I mean, that was a very competitive game. So at the end of the day, I like them against the Falcons. Good little bounce back right here. And I think that'll be a fun game in general, just for offense, for player props, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm just kind of being chalky here and going with that Ravens game, just because obviously that's probably the best game of the week overall. Just kind of excited to see kind of what this Ravens front seven can do with Saquon, right? Can they slow down Saquon? Nobody's really been able to yet, right? And this is a good matchup for them. They're a very good front seven. I didn't hear any news about Roquan yet, if he's playing. If he is playing, I kind of think this Ravens team's going to do pretty well. I think they can just run it down their throat, dude. I think that the Ravens will be able to just get back into their smash mouth football. They've gotten away from Derrick Henry a little bit too much, in my opinion. So I'm curious to see if they can reestablish that early in this game and just kind of demoralize this Eagles team, because I don't think they're a good team from coming from behind and consistently winning when they get punched in the mouth first. So good front running team, and fortunately for them, they have a lot of talent and are winning a lot of these games. So kind of curious what happens when you can like take away their first option, which is obviously running the football.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of mentioned it in the beginning too of the taking away Saquon thing. Like, I don't know if anyone can do that right now. Like, I think that's kind of the thing. Like, I don't know. That'll be a great game. The total got a little bit crazy, honestly, a little higher than I expected, but yeah, good slate. And then I thought for a second that one was competing with the Bills 49ers game, but it looks like that one's prime time. So back to back, honestly, fire games on the 4:20 slate and then the 8 p.m. slate. Definitely like that. Yeah,
I know it's should be good. I like a lot of these spots. Let's get into some dogs, Stu. I know we've been on an absolute heater. I really want to look at what our percentages are on winning these spreads, because I mean I'm at, I think that's like 7 of my last 8, and unfortunately for me, and it sucks, but I don't have my bread and butter on the slate this week with Carolina. So,
Yeah.
what are you rolling with here, Stu? We'll go three and above because there's not too many any closer than that. There's 2 of those only.
Yeah, I know my answer is already. I just want to see if there's the number still around. But Titans -6 is got to be the move.
Plus 6.
+6. Sorry, +6.
Yep, I'm seeing 6 right now. -115 DraftKings right now.
Nice. And it looks like even FanDuel has 6.5 -122. So if you want to pay a little juice, get the hook. Not too bad either. But yeah, I do like the Titans this week. I actually don't understand this number at all. It opened at 7 as well. It got bet immediately down to 6. Man, I don't see it with the we just lost to the. I shouldn't say we. I'm obviously not on the team, but come on, the Cowboys. Just lost to the Cowboys. I get it was the ugliest game in the world. Special teams errors on both sides. Sure, if you look at the stat sheets, the Commanders should have won the game. But that also counts a fluky, 85-yard touchdown at the last second from Terry McLaurin. The Titans make games ugly. That's what they do. No matter what, they make games ugly. Their defense isn't too bad, and Jane Daniels isn't throwing the ball down the field. So if all these things are true, I don't see a super high-scoring game here. I don't see a game where the Commanders are going to be able to get out early and just dominate this one, especially when you look at the rushing game, right? We don't even have any running back props. We got injuries with Robinson. We got injuries with Eckler. We could be going into this week with Jeremy McNichols and Chris Rodriguez, who just got cut a couple weeks ago. That's not a good roster at all for your running back room. And then Noah Brown is being targeted more than Terry McLaurin is this season. They were asked about it this week, Jane Daniels said, "I love Terry McLaurin, but the defense dictates where the ball goes." That's not a Malik Neighbors quote. That's not a "we need to get this guy the ball." That's a "we're going to keep giving him what the defense gives him." And that's not good. That's not good at all. You need to force Terry McLaurin the ball when your other wide receivers are Olamide Zaccheaus, Luke McCaffrey, and Noah Brown. You have to. That's how the NFL works. You get your best players good targets. You don't let the defense dictate what they do because they're dictating you to throw it to terrible receivers, which is why you lead the league in drops over the last 5 weeks. So I don't see it at all. Commanders aren't impressive to me right now. This is a big enough spread where the Titans don't even have to be good to cover it. Will Levis can still be Will Levis, although he has looked improved recently. He has looked a little bit better. I've been pro Will Levis pretty much since the start of the season. I get does terrible things, but his ceiling is higher than a lot of other quarterbacks. He just does so many stupid negative plays to negate it that it really balances out and kind of makes him it makes him hard to trust. That's why teams would want to go for a Mason Rudolph who just checks the ball down and does the most boring thing possible, right? But in reality, Levis can give you some high variance plays, both good and bad. And I like that when I'm betting on a quarterback, knowing that you could get some terrible stuff. And the final thing, Tony Pollard, I think, should have a good game. But also, Spears is back. Spears is really good. That combo at running back, I think, is going to give Washington a lot of troubles. If you watched earlier in the season, we faded Washington against running backs all year long. They just they've had a lot of pass-heavy teams recently. So we've kind of pivoted a little bit. But I think they kind of crush them on the ground. So I think this should be like a 3.5, 4-point spread. So if we're getting 6, give me the Titans all day long.
Yeah, I do not hate that. I honestly think I'm going to be putting McLaurin on my bench every week. I'm going to be starting Calvin Ridley over him, and I feel pretty damn good about it. Calvin Ridley's been freaking phenomenal. And
Lattimore could play that, though. Lattimore's the one thing. Lattimore could play this week. He went back to practice.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't trust him shadowing that much.
That's true.
Coming off an injury because they just been rolling. Dude, Calvin Ridley plays everywhere. And I fucking love it, dude. I watched their game not because I enjoy watching Titans games because they all suck. But just what I'm saying is I seen him, on the right, in the slot, in the left slot, moving in motion. That's what I'm saying. That is an alpha receiver for you. That is one AAA for that team. And they force him the ball, right? And yeah, you maybe get 1 or 2 down the field to Westbrook Akine, but we're seeing 7 to 9 targets every week. McLaurin's getting 3. Yeah. I'm I can't do it no more. So he's going to get his ass on the bench. And unfortunately, CeeDee Lamb got his ass benched by his own team this week. So we're fighting from behind here in that one. If I had to go with a dog this week, oh, God, there's just so many that I'm going to take the 3.5 on the Cardinals. Obviously, they looked horrendous last week. They looked absolutely awful on the offensive side of the ball. I think this might be one of those weeks where you use those little guys, right? Greg Dortch across the middle. You might be seeing some of those running backs get a lot more of those check downs in front because this Vikings team can't stop anything across the middle. And I'd assume, I mean, if O'Connell wasn't an idiot, they're going to find a way to put two dudes on freaking McBride. That dude literally is open every play if you just put a backer on him. The dude is just a cheat code right now. I think I'm going to take 3.5. The Vikings haven't really shown me to win by margin. Unfortunately, I think that the Vikings are a better team and probably win this game, but they haven't been able to pull away from these guys. Even the Bears last week, you're up 10 with 60 seconds left and still find a way to go to overtime. So if I'm getting 3.5, sign me up, especially after, Connor had a shit week last week. We saw all those. Marvin Harrison hasn't done anything, but you got to still respect him over the top. So I'm looking forward to it. I think this is going to be a good spot for the Cardinals to kind of bounce back. And they're in a dome, right? It's not like they're going outside. Kyler's not playing in the elements. You're playing in a dome in Minnesota. So sign me up.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, this is an interesting one because I like the Cardinals just burned me real bad last week, watching that James Conner bet that I had, obviously just running into a brick wall every 1st and 10. You got to give the Seahawks credit with McDonald. They really improved in the second half of the season. When you look at last season with the Ravens, they really improved in the second half as well. So maybe it's just a personnel thing. He switched up the starting linebackers. Maybe that Seahawks defense is a little bit more legit. But just watching that game, man, I've really not been a fan of what Kyler's done all year long. I've seen nothing but positive things about him, but I haven't seen the guy put together more than one dynamic drive at a time. Like, we have a couple spike plays here and there. We have a couple high upside shots. But when those aren't hitting, like, what can you do? It's really check the ball down to Trey McBride. Like, I'm looking at it right now. You mentioned him, 58 receiving yards. I really don't like to go high with tight ends very often. It's pretty rare for me. I don't see why that's not a winner right there. Like, even with, like you said, double coverage, even if they're all over the guy, I live bet him at like 90 yards last week and it still won. Like, it's every target is going to this guy over the middle. And the Vikings, we've talked about it all year long. You mentioned it. They funnel these targets over the middle. They get at the quarterback fast. They make you make these quick decisions. Kyler might dance around in the pocket a little bit. I could definitely see that. Maybe we see some extra scrambles from him. Probably something to take a look at. Maybe longest rush. I haven't looked at it yet, but if it's under 15, I bet that's probably a pretty good look. But I think Trey McBride's going to be a little bit hard to ignore in this one at 59.5 receiving yards. That seems like a pretty good look to me.
Yeah, it does seem a little low. It does sound a little low, especially coming off that monster week. But for me, I guess my issue is always I don't know how I like betting on a guy directly after a huge week. You know what I mean? Like a spike week like that. It always kind of scares me. But yeah, I don't think that number is high enough. So let's get into it, Stu. Let's get into it. Let's take a look at the chat first. We'll get to the questions from the chat after here in a little bit. So got Jason in here. Appreciate you guys going live on Black Friday. Thank you, Coop. We appreciate you as always. Heading to the Knicks Hornets game. Oh, nice. Is that? I think that might be an early game, right? That's an early game. I think most of them are late today. We'll talk Thomas's question there in a second. Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury falling off a cliff, man. I guess this one we can go with Westbrook Akine, Ridley, or Pollard. Which one has the most advantageous matchup? I don't know if I would say Pollard with him having to split this week. I don't know where I'd go there. I'm going Ridley in any matchup, bro.
I think you got to
alpha.
Westbrook Akine is fun, but you're just depending on a 70-yard ball. That's his only play in the playbook. So I'd cross him out. Pollard, with Spears playing and practicing, it's hard to do. I still think Pollard actually has a good game, but like, it might not be a good fantasy game. It might be like a 15 carries for 60 yards and 2 catches for 14 yards, which is like a good real life game, but like, you don't actually get that much in the box score for that. So I'd go Ridley as well. I think even you actually brought up a really good point with how much they move him around. I don't think Lattimore shadows him, especially in his first game back on probably a limited snap count. So I would bet Ridley gets a lot of good opportunities in this one. I might even have to look a little closer at betting him as well.
Beautiful. We got Plus Money Bob in the chat as well. And Jaden, you have come at the right time, my friend. You've come at the right time asking any plays for today's game. Well, Stu's got you covered. Stu's got you covered on what he's rolling with today. We each have one play on Sunday, but Stu's got you covered for today. Let him take it away here.
Sounds good. We'll go right into it. I just mentioned a second ago, I really don't bet on high tight end numbers very often. Like, it's pretty hard for me to do. You pretty much have to be the wide receiver one on your team. And luckily for us, Brock Bowers is the wide receiver one in his team. Not only does he lead the league in tight end receiving yards of any tight end, right? He's freaking 8th in the league in receiving yards in general. Like, Bowers is very quietly putting together an elite fantasy season. I would say when everyone wrote about Kyle Pitts in that rookie year, I think Bowers is way more of the elite prospect guy that we've actually seen immediately translate to the NFL and look good. A couple things that are minor details that stuck out to me that I like in the beginning of the year. Awful against cover two, against these high safety looks that you'd think would be really good for a tight end. Both his yards per route run and his target share were really low, even sub 20% for those first couple weeks. They were really not looking at him in those kind of situations. It doesn't hurt when you got Devontae Adams on the team, one of the best wide receivers in the league against those coverages. They weren't really using him at all, though. But since week 5, 30+% target share against cover two, great yards per route run numbers. It looks like he's evened out his efficiency. It looks like this is a coverage that maybe once would have been a problem is now a strength. So seeing guys overcome stuff like that early on, maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was just Devontae Adams being more involved. But I mean, a couple game sample size, right out of the bat, it's something to consider for a rookie, and seeing him improve after that. This is notable for this matchup because the Chiefs have been top 5 in cover two usage all season long. They're constantly going to be playing back, trying to eliminate those explosive plays. And then Spags is going to disguise his blitzes and send guys at you and get pressure on the quarterback. And what this does is it, one, forces you to make quick decisions, but two, you have to get the ball out quickly, and it's normally going to be over the middle. It's what we just kind of talked about with this Vikings team just a second ago. They force a lot of these targets over the middle short because when you're blitzing, when you have guys like Chris Jones, who leads the league in pressure, when you have great safeties, and you have a guy like McDuffie, who's playing fantastic on the outside, like the result of that is going to be a running back check down or a tight end check down at an above average rate. And what we've seen is the Chiefs have allowed 7 straight tight ends to go over their receiving yards number. 7 straight. Overall in the season, only 3 tight ends have not gone over their receiving yard number against the Chiefs. When we look at high usage tight ends in particular, right, ones that you're going to game plan against, George Kittle, 6 for 92. Brock Bowers, early in the season, 5 for 58. Cade Otton, 8 for 77. So these are all guys that were essentially the wide receiver one, except maybe Kittle, who had Debo at the time over there, on their team in the matchup. The defense had to game plan for these guys, and they all came in and had a lot of success. So a lot of people are typing the matchup that the Chiefs are like the worst defense in the league in tight end. That may be true. In theory, they're obviously not like the worst team in the league personnel-wise in defending tight end. It's just one of those situations where when you look at it a little bit closer, like it's what their defensive scheme allows. It's what their defensive scheme encourages. And that's what we always talk about on the show. We want to be on the same side as the coaching staff, right? We want to have, we're like, where's the defense forcing these targets? Where are they encouraging you to throw the ball? Luckily for us, that seems to match up with a guy like Brock Bowers, who's the best offensive weapon on this team. So I'm a big fan of the talent profile here. Obviously, I like to wait and see a little bit more with these younger tight ends just because traditionally there is a bit of a tougher learning curve, especially in like the blocking department. But a lot of the times with Bowers, go get in the slot, buddy. We don't need you blocking right now. Someone in the chat just mentioned Mayer coming back. Yeah, but they've been running 2 tight end sets all year long. This is nothing new. They actually have an annoyingly deep tight end room where I wish guys like Mayer were on different teams. Like, I think these guys are all solid contributors, but what happens is mostly those guys are going to be the inline tight end in 2 tight end personnel sets, and then we're going to see Bowers in the slot, which to me is awesome. I love that mismatch. I love a mega-sized Bowers in the slot. I'm curious if McDuffie covers him at all in this game. McDuffie's a fantastic corner, but I do think he'll see mostly Jacoby Myers. But I'm always curious if teams will try to mix it up and put the traditional corner on the tight end when they're the best weapon. It doesn't happen too often. It's normally a safety. But obviously the Chiefs don't really have a safety that can match the physicality of Bowers. So I like this matchup a lot. I like the upside a lot. I think Bowers has a great game right here. And I think, once again, the line is telling, too. 6.5 receptions is juiced right now. That's this line. If we're getting 7 catches, I feel very good about one of them, him being able to break off, get some yak, and, form an explosive play here. So I like Bowers in this game. I think 60 receiving yards is a reasonable number. I kind of expected like 64, 65. And once again, the final thing I'll say, Sure, maybe they'll be able to lock in on Bowers early. I think AOC fucking sucks. He's awful. That's the one thing I regret not talking about enough in this ramble. He sucks. AOC is really bad. Like Gardner Minshew isn't great, but he gives his guys a chance. Like AOC in the first quarter, they're going to run the ball 8 times for like 14 yards. Nothing's going to happen. They're going to go down a touchdown, and you're going to be playing against soft off defenses for the rest of the game. That's what happens in every AOC start. The guy goes down immediately, and garbage time starts in the second quarter with this guy. There's no need to wait until the fourth quarter. You're already down 2 scores. So I think when you're going up against soft, defenses that are just trying to limit those, big plays, I think Bowers is just going to eat over the middle. I think he has a really good game here.
Yeah, and mind you, these guys, I don't know why. I think it's just, I don't know if they could just put some random dude back there, but these games always just decide to be close, even when it's not even close talent-wise. Like it always finds a way to be a touchdown or 10, right? When talent-wise, it should be probably 30, right? So just another thing there too, where you're expecting them to be down, but they're never really out of it, right? It's not like they're down 30, right? All we usually see is them get to like that 21, and then they score one, and it's 2-possession game, right? So I don't know why, but it's almost every time I've watched one of these matchups, that's usually what's happened. So let's get to mine. I only got one play for you guys today. I have a lot of other sports today with college football and college basketball kind of taking over my life right now with all these games starting at 10 a.m. So I'll start us off, and I'll let Stu get to his second play. I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara today. I'm on Caesars here for 103.5 rushing plus receiving at -117. I really like this matchup against the Rams. I think that Kamara coming off of this bye week is really important because we saw him in the middle of this season getting close to, almost 30 touches a game. There was a couple games with 35 opportunities for this guy. And I think they're like, oh, well, this guy is not a young back anymore, man, right? He's 29 coming in. He was going in 5th rounds of fantasy leagues for a reason because he's been hyper inefficient, and now they're almost like running him into the ground. So they've like, oh, we'll still use you 20 times, but we're going to use Taysom Hill in a lot of these spots. I think this is one of those games where they can win. They can win this game against the Rams at home, and I think that this is going to be an Alvin Kamara special type of game, right? I could see 60 from each. I could see 80 of each, or 80 of one and 40 of the other, right? So just looking at the Rams defensively, obviously missing Aaron Donald, but you go over to their points allowed to running backs, 25.5 attempts a game for running back. We're seeing about 4.6 yards a carry on the ground, seeing about 5 targets through the air. And obviously none of them have been against Kamara, and Kamara's kind of that back. It's either Kamara, McCaffrey, or Devon Achane, right? Those are your 3 guys that are pretty much just an extension of the pass game out of the backfield. I think Kamara is going to get absolutely peppered. If you want to look at all of his numbers as of late, he's still got 20 opportunities last week against Cleveland in the game. They were up pretty handily. 23 against Atlanta, 38 against Carolina, right? I mean, that's a healthy amount of numbers, man. That's a healthy amount of touches. And I think in this game, close game, 3-point spread, you're at home. Let's get them a win, guys. Let's try and get this win. And I think that we're going to see Kamara get a lot of those dump offs. I think we're going to see Kamara kind of be that focal point again in this offense. And that Taysom Hill love where he goes for 100 and whatever yards he had and 3 touchdowns. I think he comes back down to earth and we start seeing Kamara do his thing.
Yeah, no, I like the spot a lot. And I think one of the underrated parts about the Saints is that they went from a defensive head coach who kind of got their shit together in a sense, right? He wasn't really a good coach, but it's kind of like Saleh, where when you take the one guy that kind of got the shit together on defense and you take him out, well, they just suck again. And then you trade away their best corner, and then they definitely suck. So, I mean, when you're terrible on defense, like that's so impactful for the rest of the game and your own offense, right? They're going to be out there more. They're going to be forced to overcompensate. And we know Kamara is a guy that can have that upside in both categories, not just on the ground, but also through the air, which is key, right? How many running backs do you see with multiple 50-plus, receiving yard performances? Like it's obviously not very common for a reason. So I like the spot. I like that the Saints kind of they're like an over team now. Like before, like look at 49.5 total. Like this is like expected to be like a shootout kind of game. They're coming off a bye week, so you'd expect them to hopefully have some good play calling, right? We gave OC a lot of credit in the beginning of the year for their hot start. Okay, well, we've all turned on you now, buddy. Nobody likes the Saints anymore. So you've got a bye week. You can play all your Madden, pop a couple Adderall. Hopefully you fired up some good plays. Hopefully you were cooking, right? Hopefully you got in the lab this weekend. We'll see. But if he did, Alvin Kamara is the heart of this team. Honestly, he's kind of their only chance. If Kamara doesn't have a good game, they're mega screwed in this one. So it fits exactly what you want against the Rams. They got a good pass rush. They can get to you quickly, but they're not a good run defense. So you can run on them. You can pass to the running back against them. Definitely like the upside for Kamara here.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, just it's tough. We talked about Barkley and that volume, man. I mean, Kamara's right there. It's him, McCaffrey, when healthy McCaffrey. But, Achane is starting to get there now. Then they're finally getting rid of Raheem Mostert out of that rotation. You're starting to see these dudes kind of take over, right? And take over that backfield, and they start to put up some big boy numbers. So looking forward to a Kamara showing this week, and hopefully keep that game close. I think that could be a really fun game. I think that could be probably one of the more fun games of the weekend to watch as a fan. Going to our last play for the show, guys. 30 minutes in. We got 45 of you guys with us live. Hit that like button. Appreciate you joining us on your Black Friday. And let's get to Stu's last one here.
Sounds good. We got Joe Burrow over 258 passing yards, minus 110 over on FanDuel. This one's very interesting. Over on FanDuel, you can get 258. If you go to some of these other books, if you go to an MGM, if you go to a Bet365, it's 271. Ooh, that's a big gap. What I think this gap is attributed to is a decent amount of money coming in on the under last night after a couple articles were written saying Joe Burrow concerned about injury re-aggravation in the winter. When you go back and look at it, or a lot of the quotes you look at, a lot of scary headlines just say Joe Burrow worried about getting re-injured. And you're like, oh, shit, that's terrible. This guy's been, banged up by these knee injuries, these leg injuries, whatever. Like, hopefully it's not something bad. When you go back and read the quote, he's just like, in the past, during cold games, like I felt some of these injuries linger a little bit. I hope my wrist holds up. Like there's no single indication that anything has been wrong with his wrist all year long. It's just simply like it's going to be cold as hell. I hope that doesn't like mess up my wrist a little bit more. Like I hope it feels good. Like I don't know why I'd extremely overreact to that. Like that for a line to move almost like 20 yards off of a quote like that, to me, is like an overreaction. I don't think that's necessary. I think there needs to be like some real legitimate, like official information, or maybe he re-aggravated it last week. That's what I was thinking I'd read. Is he re-aggravated the wrist last week? Now he's worried the cold might make it work. No, it's just simply like, doesn't really seemingly love these kind of environment games, and that's a concern of his. But at the end of the day, Joe Burrow's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league this year. And I wanted to start out with the negative because I think it's always important to like address the biggest negatives. That's what we try to do on the show, is kind of point holes in the arguments against it, because it's a lot easier to cherry pick stats for it. And I'm not really a Joe Burrow fan. If you've been watching for a while, I really haven't ever been much of a Joe Burrow fan. Not that I didn't think he was a good quarterback. I didn't think he was a great quarterback. So far this year, he's been a pretty great quarterback. Like, he's done his job. They've had a lot of injuries on both sides of the ball. They've had, some unfortunate losses. And then even like the Chargers kind of embarrassing loss where they get destroyed in the first half and then they look fantastic in the second half and come back. For me, what I really like about this is very simple. The Steelers' defense is very good. They're a good defense, no doubt about it. When you look at this cornerback room, when you look at their style of play, they play more single high safety coverage than any team in the league. And it's not close. It's almost a 10% gap in how much more Pittsburgh plays single high coverage than any other team in the league. That is exactly what I want when facing a high-level quarterback. Joe Burrow has faced more cover two snaps, more two-high safety snaps over these last 2 years than any quarterback not named Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. I mean, he has been harassed by these coverages because when you have T. Higgins on one side, when you got Jamar Chase on the other side, no team has the cornerback duo that can face those guys. You can't play one-on-one man coverage. You got to have that safety help for them. That's really been the biggest problem. It's forced Joe Burrow to be a little bit more of a check down merchant at times. The Steelers have not changed their style of play no matter who they played this year. They've stayed very consistent in being a heavy single high coverage team. When you look individually at the cornerback room, Joey Porter Jr., very good in man coverage, very good corner so far despite being young. The problem, he can only guard one of these two guys. Because when you look at the rest of the room, when you look at Jackson or Johnson, when you look at Beanie Bishop, these guys are both bottom 10th percentile via PFF and man coverage so far this year. They're absolutely getting torched out there. Porter can only guard one of these guys, but most NFL teams, you don't have more than one guy you got to worry too bad about. Like most teams do not have T. Higgins on one side and Jamar Chase on the other side, and then not even counting a guy like Chase Brown, who's set at freaking 28 receiving yards, highest number of his career. We got Mike Gesicki over the middle. There are a lot of weapons on this team, but for me, the biggest thing I'm looking at is, and I'm going to be live betting as well, whoever is not being guarded by Joey Porter Jr. is getting the matchup of the year here. Like they're getting great volume against the Steelers defense. That's good. They're going to make you throw the ball a decent amount. It's hard to run on these guys. I haven't seen the updated injury on Highsmith, but obviously if he's back, that would be fantastic against the run right there. But either way, 258 is a very low number for Burrow. I mean, he's been cruising over this recently, third in the league in passing yards on the season. For me, this is just incredibly too low. And seeing the 20-yard or like 18, 15-yard disparity between this and some of the other books kind of instantly made me even more aggressive. Because to be honest, the first thing I was looking at was longest reception. Or longest completion. I love longest completion looks. But the more I'm looking at it, it's like, those are tricky plays. Like you can have a couple 35-yard passes in a game and I can still lose my over 36.5. Like there's a couple different ways that can go wrong. So for me, just taking a step back, Chase Brown as the bell cow has not been an efficient back. He's been solid. He can create a couple explosive plays, but on the ground, I really don't think they're going to be able to get anything going here. So I know the Steelers' pass defense is scary to some people, and it's a good defense in general, but Burrow's been good against a lot of good defenses this year. And I really do think with your wide receivers healthy, with the personnel that the Steelers have, and then the style of play that they use, it's really not conducive to beating the Bengals at all. And obviously, final thing I'll say, Bengals need to win this game. If they lose, it's over. The season is done. So maybe a win doesn't guarantee them anything here, but they're not out of it yet. They're still in contention here. And if they do not win this game, they are done. So if we don't see peak Joe Burrow here, we're probably not going to see him for the rest of the season. It's probably going to be pretty chill. So I like this spot a lot. I think Burrow has a good game, division rivalry, and definitely take this over on FanDuel 258. DraftKings has 260 as well. Both of those are very good numbers.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love Joe Burrow in these big game spots. You need him to show up, right? And obviously, we're far enough away that I'm not worried about that injury talk that we were kind of hearing about there. I'm not as worried about that, seeing as we're almost a year out from when that actually happened last year. So I get it though, but I don't think he even meant anything by it. I can't believe people would take that as, hey, let's bet against a guy that's had a lot of success in these big games. So love that spot. I'll be with you. I can't believe FanDuel is giving you that price. That's crazy. Let's talk Video Beast question here. Talking about Bowers Kelsey promo at 50 yards plus 160. Is that a spot that you think you would roll with? I mean, I always like Kelsey against the Raiders, but in this spot, I mean, we could see it get out of hand too.
I'm just so done with Kelsey. Like, I'm just so I bet his touchdown last week. Of course, the 1 week I bet the Kelsey touchdown, like all year. Noah Gray, my guy, my absolute guy with the 2 touchdown game. Like, I mean, like, I don't want to say anything too negative. I'm not going to bet on Travis Kelsey anymore until the playoffs. In the playoffs, I believe it, or maybe if they have an important game at the very end of the year, in an unimportant game. I mean, they already don't feature the guy. Maybe they want to get him a free 100 yards, let him pop off in prime time with his girl in the crowd, everyone watching, whatever. That's cool. But no, I haven't seen enough. He's not involved enough in the offense. I don't think this game's going to be close. I think the Chiefs fucking destroy him today. I don't like the Raiders as a dog. So maybe Kelsey gets it super early, but I just can't. I'm just so done with it. I truly have no interest at all in betting Travis Kelsey in the regular season.
Yeah, I think I'd probably be on the other side just because it's not like anything excessive. Like I could like 50 yards for him is like
That should be his regular line. I mean, what the fuck?
What is I'm that's why I said I'm like I don't know what it actually would be at, especially when D Hop is there doing his thing. And the only reason I'm kind of worried that he would just pop off here is just because I think they're just gonna kind of slowly wean Kareem Hunt out of playing because he's so bad and so inefficient that you only run the ball like 15 times with Pacheco. Or, like have Pacheco and P. Ryan, and only use those guys and just send Kareem Hunt to the shadow realm right away, bro. And then it's just like, all right, Mahomes, everybody's watching you. You're the only game on TV today. You're the first Friday game in how many years? Go put up a 400 piece on these boys because you can, right? And they talk a lot of shit too. So for a team with 2 fucking wins. So I could see that just because.
That's fair.
Just like run it up on these dudes. Every game is kind of close with them, like I said before, but would you be surprised to just see Kareem Hunt not play?
I actually would. So,
but so like 5-6 carries.
Here's my thing.
It's like the fourth quarter, they're up 21, and they're just like melting it.
So maybe this is me just trying to be too smart because I faded Kareem Hunt a lot this year. So one of the biggest, most influential bettors in the market put out the under earlier. It opened at 59. Hunt opened crazy high at 59. Then it was 50 for a while. Now it's down to 44. If it gets in the 30s, I think I'm going to take the over in some capacity because sure, Kareem Hunt does suck. And he's truly been really bad. But 1, it's way more to be efficient as the 2 than the 1, right? I mean, you're not the hammer, you're the nail. You get a little bit of a easier usage. The carries you're going to get are probably a little bit more efficient. But for me, the biggest thing is why the fuck would you give Pacheco more than 10 carries in this game? No, this game doesn't matter at all. It's the Raiders who suck with Aiden O'Connell who sucks. I have no, maybe Pacheco's just fully healthy and he's a football player and Andy Reid goes, hey, you're a football player. If you want to play, you go play. That's not how it should work. I don't know if it's how it does work in Kansas City. There is no reason. You let Pacheco get a couple of touches. You let him get comfortable. I think 10 to 12 is reasonable. But if you're beating the crap out of the Raiders, I see no reason why you don't let Kareem Hunt go soak up 14 carries to end this game. In the fourth quarter and the end of the third quarter. And that's even saying Kareem Hunt could start this game as well. He could actually be the starting back with Pacheco being mixed in a little bit more. We don't know what the usage is going to look like at all. So at the high 50s, a fantastic under, a great under. It's so hard to see him getting there. He wasn't even getting there as a starter. But if we get down even lower than the 40s to the 30s against the fucking Raiders, then I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe you need to talk some sense into me here. But I just don't see the reason you'd stress Pacheco late in this game. Let him get a couple touches and use him for a real team that actually is going to put up a fight.
Yeah, and I guess that my issue is just because I told you, could I see them beating them by 30? Yes, but every time I watch these 2 teams play, they're not out of hand. You know what I mean? It's not
that's true.
Huge. Because even if, say it gets to 42 or whatever it is, how many carries would that take Kareem Hunt anyway? 12, 14?
Probably, yeah.
For a third, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This boy's getting 3 yards a pop. And it ain't looking good either, dude. And
maybe I wait for carries then. Fuck the yards. Maybe I try to get carries. Carries is 12.5. So I don't really want that. I want 9.5 carries. That's what I'd really like, honestly. But we'll see. People keep betting those unders. I want to hit that over at some point if it gets crazy low. So
we got a couple hours left.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm insane. Maybe you should just skip this whole part of the show because I've truly shit on Kareem Hunt a lot this season. I just think logically here, I don't see why he wouldn't get 12, 13 carries. But I'm speculating a lot that the Raiders do suck in this game. And you're right, that's not necessarily a given. But I don't believe in the Raiders at all. I even took their under first quarter team total at 0.5 last night. Which is just the base number, by the way. You don't even get good odds. It's just the base number. So I don't believe in AOC at all. I think that kind of informs a lot of my thought process on this game. But that's very fair as well. Hunt's probably just a prime stay away in this game. In reality, you probably just leave that number alone and ignore it. Maybe live betting, if anything.
Do not mind that at all. I think it is time, though, for a quick recap here, Stu. And time to get rolling on these some long shots. I think I might do a college football long shot. I'm kind of feeling that since there's not many out yet. I like doing the daily specials for a lot of these. spots. But I'll let you recap here, and then let's look at some long shots.
Sounds good. Got Brock Bowers over 60 receiving yards, -110 for tonight's game. I would play that to like 63.5. And then we got Joe Burrow over 258 passing yards, -110 FanDuel. I'd play this one to 265.5, but obviously make sure to line shop, get that FanDuel, get those DraftKings numbers.
Beautiful. I'll be on Alvin Kamara over 103.5 rushing plus receiving yards over on Caesars. All right, Stu, what's catching your eye in this one? What is the long shot for you this week?
I don't have a long shot locked in right now, to be completely honest with you. I don't have any good. The only one that I haven't seen the price yet, and maybe this is totally insane, but it's like the same thought process I have for the whole game. I don't even know who the fuck this guy really is. DJ Turner, 25 receiving yards. Or let's see, you can get 20 receiving yards at like +210. You can get 30 at +375. If they're just getting their ass beat and like Myers has good coverage on him with McDuffie, like I mean DJ Turner doesn't have to be good to go for 20 yards. You know what I mean? Like I don't really, all I know is he runs enough routes to be involved. Like Trey Tucker is obviously the number 2 on this team, but Trey Tucker is like a gadget player. He gets like 3-yard checkdowns or like 60-yard bombs. He doesn't run like a regular route tree. So outside of Myers and then outside of Bowers, who's the clear target, like if you're just giving me any wide receiver set at 8.5 receiving yards, I mean, I'd rather just take the alternate line, spend a little bit less money, and just go for a little bit of upside. You know what I mean? One catch for a wide receiver is normally over 10 yards. Like that's how the NFL works. You know what I mean? So like if we're already counting on him getting one catch, I think it's very easy to see in garbage time they're getting crushed. Why not get the young guys going out there? Why not get them a couple targets? So I don't know. I think DJ Turner, I haven't bet it yet, so I don't have it locked in officially, but that's the closest thing I have to a long shot right now.
Okay. I think what I'm going to roll with is a college football bet that starts in a couple hours. I'm going to roll with Jackson Dart 4 touchdown passes today. I think Jackson Dart's just going to absolutely torch this absolutely god-awful Mississippi State team. It's +270 right now for 4 touchdown passes. If I'm looking at this team total, bro, you're already down your number 1 back, right? He got hurt. He's out for the season. I'm looking at these boys rolling a fat. You want to hear how high this team total is? Their baseline team total is 44. That's their flat team total. And you're going to tell me we're rolling a bunch of scrub backups in the running back field because that Parrish dude was a tank, dude. He was good. And now you're going to tell me we're rolling with a couple backups and we get Jackson Dart in a supposed rivalry game, right? Ole Miss, Mississippi State, supposed rivalry game. This team is so much better than Mississippi State. I think they just absolutely wallop them. It's good for recruiting too, right? To just say, hey, we just beat the in-state team by 500 points. Yeah. My quarterback threw for 505 touchdowns on these boys. Sign me up. Jackson Dart's got Lee. He's obviously got a lot of high-end receivers on this team. I've made a little bit of money on Lee this year because he's been just really, really good for us. My only issue is we have a doubtful, questionable tag on Trey Harris. And I think that's the only reason it's bringing it down because he's obviously a top 5 receiver in college football. So that's my only issue with it. If you want to bet his rushing yards, he's got that upside too. So I'm all in with Jackson Dart today overall. If I'm playing any sort of college football DFS, he's my first guy in. So really like Jackson Dart today. It should be I think it should be an ass kicking over there.
No, I like that look. Dart, I mean, he's been known to run up the stat sheet as well. I know he started off the season with that like streak of 300-yard games that he had going for a while. Obviously was in, talks to be maybe one of the better QBs in the nation. That's probably not the case anymore. But still, one of the higher-end quarterbacks in one of the higher-end offenses in the nation. And obviously, like you said, against a terrible defense as well. So I like the look. Obviously, college football, long shots, I always like targeting as well because these guys, like you said, 44 team total. You don't see that shit in the NFL. You know what I mean? So I like it. I would like if obviously Harris played, but definitely like the look either way.
Last thing I'll say, if you're a football fan, today's a great day to watch some like mid-majors. Liberty plays today. in a 1-point spread. They're usually huge favorites in their game. They're playing Sam Houston State. Very good game. South Alabama, Texas State. That should be an absolute track meet. So, like, tell me this Chiefs game gets out of hand, right? And it's a 2:00 start, right? That game starts at 2:30. Those two lower level games, but they're good football. Like, it's good football. It's fun, fast paced football. If you're a fan of just, good football, I would watch that. If this one gets out of hand, obviously you're watching the Chiefs, right? You're watching the NFL game, but if it by the second quarter it's 17-0 and you're like, damn, this is really going to happen again, might as well turn on something that's enjoyable. So.
Oh yeah. I got all day sweating too. I got East Carolina just kicked off, got them pretty big, so we'll see what happens. It should be a fun game of college football. I didn't even notice how stacked the slate was today, honestly, but definitely.
Yeah, I have so much. That's why I said we had to move this up earlier. I would not be able to do any of it with all of the stuff we have going on today around the area there. And then obviously you still got NBA, you still got all this other stuff today. So should be fun though. Stu, anything else for the people before we head out? We still got 25 with us, 50 minutes in.
Yeah, no, appreciate you guys sticking with us here on Black Friday. Obviously, very hectic time of the year, a lot of family stuff going on. So for the people that did tune in, obviously very thankful for you guys. Much appreciated. And yeah, we'll be here, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, a little bit less hectic week next week going back to normal. So yeah, definitely excited. I think we got some killer picks in today. And if you want more, make sure you go follow over on Twitter. I'll definitely quote tweet this with some more kind of long shot stuff. I really don't have any locked in right now, so don't want to give you guys anything that I haven't bet yet. But we'll definitely repost, quote tweet this with some long shots. And yeah, hopefully we get some winners this week.
Yes, sir. Actually, shit, I think I missed my boy. We missed our guy's question here. Thank you guys, obviously, for tuning in. Thoughts on Baker's overs? It's tough with a three-headed backfield, and you're playing the worst rush defense ever to touch a field in the Carolina Panthers. So, I love Baker. You guys know I'm probably the biggest Baker stan in the world. I bet I'm probably more than anybody should, but it is a narrative. So maybe I would take the touchdowns, right? Maybe I just do the touchdowns, right? Because I could see them just running down the field and him wanting to throw everything in just to kind of make his stats look crazy against this team that ruined his career almost. So I love Baker, so I'll never say anything wrong about it over on Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I kind of go, like, my problem with the passing touchdowns is that they run so many two running back personnel in the red zone with both Bucky and Tucker or Bucky and Rashad, that it kind of makes, even though you can check it down, you can pass to those guys, like it makes it a little bit tricky for me, especially with some of the creativity they've shown off with some of these like reverse handoffs and stuff. I'd probably rather just take passing yards, but I don't know. It's like you said, you can run on these guys so easily, but Baker does love throwing one up. Like, he doesn't mind doing that at all, and I think that could be the case again here. So I would lean over on the passing yards. I think Baker probably does have a pretty good game, but you did kind of nail it, that it could just be like a Bucky Irving, 100 yards, Tucker giving you like 30, 40 more, same with White. So definitely a little bit scary with the rush defense, but we're big Baker fans over here.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me twice trying to bet on Baker Mayfield. So, yeah, I think we're good, Stu. I think we had a good show here today. Hopefully everybody got something out of it, and hopefully we're ready to make some money again. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you guys on Monday, back in our normal, or at least my normal background here, not some like creepy background here. But appreciate you guys. Best of luck, and let's crush this Sunday slate. I think we got a good spot. So have a good one, guys, and we'll see you Monday.